I'm Rep. Tlaib's District Director. Again, we thank you to coming this evening. Our goal this evening is to facilitate a productive and open dialogue with you all and to hear what your elected officials have to say this evening to ensure that we have a respectful and focused conversation for everyone. We do have a couple guidelines, just, making sure that we're all remaining attentive to some of the questions that may be answered or at the end, and then making sure that we are not interrupting as best as we possibly can. Also wanted to let you know that we all have a art competition, so the 12th District Art Competition. We are asking that you submit your vote. It's for those students that are in our district, high schoolers, sorry. We submitted their art pieces. So at the end, you have the opportunity to be in the right corner here to be able to cast your votes, and we definitely appreciate you doing so. And with that being said, I'll go ahead and send this over to Rep. Tlaib.
Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate it. So before we start, I know you see some of our elected officials here, but if you're an elected official, please stand and introduce yourself. Just kind of shout, please.
Southfield President, Norman Engelbaum.
Southfield City Council. Former Southfield City Councilwoman.
We see our chair, Joseph Person, our chair of the Southfield, Lathrop Bush Democratic. Any other, I thought I saw a few, any other elected officials? Oh, nice. So one of the things I want to do is kind of go over what has happened on the federal level. I know it's hard to believe, but we're only on week 13. I know. Every time I say it, everybody goes, but I do want to also give people hope about what's happening and resisting some of the really major cuts and the things that we're doing as a community. And many of the folks that have never ever come out, spoke up and been really engaged are now coming out in droves. We're seeing that in the numbers and so forth. So next slide. So just know that I'm on the litigation task force. So the House of Representatives Democratic Caucus, we created a litigation task force. Congressman Jamie Raskin is leading that effort. I'm on that task force. I know litigation, everyone's like, are they listening to the courts? I do want you to know litigation is resistance. It is slowing them down. And we're winning a lot of the cases, and it's also creating transparency. We're able to get a lot of information through some of those court cases. Next slide. Yeah. So one of the things I do want to talk about is something did pass, right? A temporary budget to keep government open. You probably remember this. Yes. And so one of the things that was passed is this temporary budget is going to be in there until September. So in there, it passed about 32,000 people that, again, rely very much on housing support from HUD. The big one that you hear a lot of veterans talking about, do you guys remember John Stewart getting out there advocating for the PACT Act? This was for our veterans that were exposed to Agent Orange and toxins. Well, they cut all the funding for that, $22.8 billion. Now this is temporary, and this is why we all have to be engaged and understand. I mean, is this going to be a permanent cut? They got rid of that. We have 500,000 right now. Veterans are in the queue to see if they qualify for the PACT Act, but all of that is on hold because they cut all of that money. I mean, $28 billion. They also neglect fully funding the emergency food program. This is really important for many of our seasoned residents. Again, you all know the cost of groceries is going up, so this was a critical program. Broadband internet, the $30 million. Now, Army Corps of Engineers, some of these projects are already in the ground. Like, they're already in process. So they just now, in the middle of all these processes, cut about 44% of the Army Corps of Engineers projects. But don't worry, they did increase the military funding by $6 billion. That's the Pentagon budget, unfortunately. And a lot of my veterans will tell you that's not where they get the support from, not out of the Pentagon budget. It's out of the Health and Human Services, out of all the programs and the VA services. That's a different committee. And unfortunately, they cut about $13 billion from other vital programs. I was one of the 66 House members, courageously signed a letter asking Schumer to oppose this and fight a lot harder in the Senate. We wanted them to at least delay and get us 4 weeks of continued negotiation, but unfortunately, it got passed. The other, next slide, okay. So this is at play now. This is where you're probably hearing in the local media, people really upset, going to town halls, telling their members what's going on, why'd you support this? So in here, I'm gonna skip the 2 part, but the $880 billion to Medicaid. That's nearly $1 trillion. You're gonna hear colleagues say, oh, well, the word Medicaid is not even in there. Well, Energy and Commerce, that's the $880 billion Energy and Commerce Committee, that oversees Affordable Care Act, Medicare, and Medicaid, and CHIP programs. So there's no way, and nonpartisan organizations will tell you this, there's no way they can cut nearly $1 trillion, $880 billion out of Energy and Commerce Committee without touching Medicare and Medicaid. Also in there is about $230 billion to food assistance and SNAP. How many of you know many of the food banks who have been sending emails out and concerned about some of the cuts? This would impact some of those programs. $330 billion from the Department of Education. Altogether, it's about $1.5 trillion from other communities. Now, the first 2 bullets I put up there, this is not millions or billions. They want to do $4.5 trillion tax giveaway to the richest Americans. $2 trillion of spending cuts harming working families. Now, I'm going to show you some of the specific examples, but next slide. So a lot of people don't believe me. Sometimes I'm telling them this happened, but people are like, no, there's no way, right? This is exactly a number from again, the, what they call the budget office or some nonpartisan. It's $314,206 average annual tax cut for the richest 0.1%. That's what they're doing. For the richest 1.1%. Look at that. It approves $2 trillion in giveaways to CEOs and powerful corporations. In our district, in the 12th congressional, that's just my district, we have about 800,000 people in the 12th congressional district. 324,766 families depend on Medicaid. Yeah. And I did want to put this because how many of you are on Affordable Care Act? A lot of retirees, as police officers, I'm on Affordable Care Act, yep. They want to increase about $630 per year annually. And of course, close to 160,000 folks depending on SNAP benefits. I want to show you this because this is who they're helping. This is the original Trump tax plan that was passed before. 39 corporations, here's some of them, do not pay any federal income tax. How many of you pay federal income tax? Yeah. Guess what? Ally, DTE, who keeps increasing our rates, Dish, T-Mobile, FedEx, and Pepsi, they don't pay any federal income tax. This is who they're talking about, because the $2 trillion alone for CEOs and corporations, they're talking about these folks. Next slide. 25 corporations save $67 billion from depreciation tax breaks in 2018-2022. I want you to know this is the original tax plan that they have in there. The $880 billion cut in the Energy and Commerce Committee, how they're going to try to pay for it, or what they're doing is they want to cut that to pay for this. And again, nonpartisan groups, people are telling folks this is exactly what they're doing, is they're picking the richest folks, the corporations, the billionaires, over some of the basic needs. No, back to that slide. I just want you guys to see, I don't know, I just, sometimes I look at this and I wonder, like, you know, they'll try to gaslight us and say it's about jobs, but I haven't met anybody that works at Facebook in my district. Anybody here work at Facebook? Yeah, I just want us to be aware of who's benefiting and who isn't in regards to budget. Next slide. So in the 100 days fighting against, you know, the fascism that you see and so forth, even though it's been 13 weeks, 265 plus bills have been introduced, y'all. And I'll tell you why, because we're reacting, right? I did not know, how many of you knew that some of our federal employees are on 3-year probation? I didn't know that, Joe. About some of them are 1 year, some of them 2 years, yep. And some of them negotiated, all of them used to be 3 years, and some of them negotiated through a collective bargaining agreement to get it down. But one of my colleagues and I education, we didn't realize how, just like during the pandemic, we didn't realize some of these social safety nets were not as strong as they should have been. Healthcare, mental health, everything, even our education system wasn't really ready. The one big thing I see here is that, you know, the Merit Act, I co-led with my colleague out of Virginia, is that we need to be able to create much more stronger protections for our federal workers. They're gonna tell you, we're not cutting Social Security. Oh, we're not cutting Social Security. But they're cutting 50% of the workforce of Social Security. Do you know what that means? This was the closest. And again, I did a listening session with folks at Social Security. This is the closest we got to fully staffing our Social Security office for our region. And now they're cutting 50% of the workforce there. So I want you to know, so Department of Education Protection Act, President Obama had made, I think Johanna Hayes, I can't remember what year, Teacher of the Year. She's leading this effort, again, trying to protect our education system. Know that much, I mean, overwhelming majority of the actions through the executive order are actually illegal, and they're going around Congress. If they want to cut Department of Education, all they have to do is offer a bill. There's a bill on the floor. They can vote for it. I think the American people, the residents that elected them, to me, it's like you have a trifecta, President. Like go figure it out. Instead, they're having their minions and doing it around Congress and creating a constitutional crisis. We also, of course, got a lot of concerns. How many of you freaked out when Elon Musk went into the Social Security office with all those folks? Yep. We have the Delete Doge Act. You all know that nobody in Congress, not one person, a Republican, Independent, or Democrat, authorized any funding of the Doge Department, whatever they're calling it. There's no funding. Where is it getting funded from? There's no transparency. Next slide. We're leading efforts on Head Start. It's not perfect, but I can tell you the Mamas Caucus led a Head Start letter, because when they turned the lights off on all these programs earlier in the year, when they turned the lights back on, it was kind of, flickering. So we had about 57 Head Start programs for a month, did not get access to the portal. A lot of these federal funding are reimbursements. What I mean by that is the services have already been rendered. So they already provided, so they're going in the portal to draw down reimbursement for some of those services. Head Start is one of them. Next slide. I'm not going through all of the next slide. Oh, well, before you go, so this one, I'm on the House Oversight Committee, which is very important right now. We tried to subpoena Elon Musk. I kid you not, I never saw them so upset with us. And we've done a lot of stuff in House Oversight Committee. They went crazy when we put a motion to say we want to subpoena Elon Musk, and we were nice. We were like, there's no way you're not getting people calling your office asking what is Elon Musk doing at Social Security office, and what is he doing here and there. And they ended up recessing, waiting for all the Republican colleagues to come back so they could table this motion, unfortunately. But we're not going to stop fighting in House Oversight Committee. So with a lot of the litigation that's happening, as a member of Congress, we don't have legal standing, but many of you are part of organizations that do. Like the NAACP is the one filing the case against them, trying to eliminate Department of Education. Some of the unions are leading the fight. They have legal standing to fight against some of these, illegal firings that are happening. But we are getting on, the litigation task force is very good about getting as many members of Congress, I'm on all of them, to basically support an amicus brief, almost like a support of the litigation. 201 cases have been filed against the Trump administration. We've won 93% of those cases. 93%. And we have a chart here. If you get my e-newsletters, you're gonna see weekly newsletters. We sometimes include this chart. We'll update it so you guys are aware of what's happening. The other important thing, House Oversight Committee, we created a tip line. This is important because there are some members of Congress who, many of us, we don't know what exactly is going on, but there are some members of the federal workforce that can call that number anonymously. We've gotten one from the VA recently. That they sent an email out. It was a really weird email about not promoting being anti-Christian at the workplace. No joke. That's a letter that just went out this past. I don't know if you guys heard about it. So the tip line is something that if you know of an employee, because I got a lot of calls from the grandmother, the mom, this is what's happening to my kid. That's great, but there's also a tip line where the federal worker can call anonymously again, would protect them and providing information about what's going on in some of these agencies. Like they got rid of all the surgical techs at the Dingle VA. Well, then what's happened? Who's doing the surgical tech? They're cleaning the equipment now. Like that's, and so a lot of folks are, calling in and kind of giving us a sense of the fact that it's becoming so reckless, it's becoming very dangerous for people to take care of. These are my numbers. If you got a one-pager over there, I don't want to go into it, but this is us tracking, again, some of the work that we're doing together. What you can do. So these are some of the organizations. Just know, like Detroit Action is part of Working Families Party and some of the other groups. They are connected nationally. Even if it says Detroit Action, this is for everyone in the region. They are connected nationally to other organizations and folks that are working on this. We only need 3 to 4 Republicans to join us. You probably saw I was in John James' district because he wouldn't hold a town hall. So I went there myself and answered the questions that many of his residents had. And I was borrowed. We had close to 400 people there, it was very disturbing to hear so many people said they tried to go to his office, they tried to talk to him, and a lot of them there in Macomb County, overwhelmingly, especially parents, there was a lot of parents there with children with special needs that know that cutting Medicaid would devastate their family. Talk to 3 people, this is important. Neighbor to neighbor is effective. We did something in Livonia recently. It was a training really for everybody. We had some folks from actually Oakland County there. And what we said is, if a Oakland County resident's calling a Macomb County resident and talking to other folks and saying, hey, this is what's gonna happen with Medicaid, I checked my member of Congress, where's your member of Congress? That's very effective. So know the power that you all have. I remind people all the time, we didn't get the Civil Rights Act because somebody in Congress and the White House thought it was a really great idea. We didn't get the right to organize unions because somebody in the White House woke up and said that's a phenomenal idea, we need unions. It's when everybody outside these institutions organized and they talked to each other and built coalitions to fight back. Next slide, and then I'm going to show this one, if you can play this. So I want to show you all this, and I'm going to show you this next thing, because I think it's important to know that you're not alone, and the anxiety and the overwhelming fear, but don't let it paralyze you. There's things that we can do together to resist. This was just recent one that I was at.
A large crowd of protesters there, and this is one of many protests taking part across the country today. These protesters are calling out everything from the Trump agenda to Elon Musk in particular.
They were only expecting about 300 people, over 1,000 people showed up. And I'm sure many of you have attended some. To get the gist of it. So if we can go to the slide before this. So in the slide before this, I want you to see this. 2017 is the green line. The last time. 2017 is the green line. The blue line is 2025. So people are rising up, they're resisting. Some of you, if you go to the next one. There you go. When oppression, you heard me say this, when oppression hardens, so does resistance. The power that you all have, I don't want you to feel powerless. I can tell you every time I go back, I said, oh, I got 400 or 500 calls coming into me telling me X, Y, and Z. When I can show people, again, folks are rising up and they're not gonna take it. They're not gonna have people go around. There are folks that are calling my office that even voted for him and are very upset. And I'm not shaming or blaming. What I said to them is, well, this is the time to rise up and organize and say, not on our watch, because they know this is very much incredibly dangerous. cutting not only Medicaid, but going around Congress the way they are. And even one called me and was like so upset that they ignored the Supreme Court unanimous decision to release Mr. Garcia from El Salvador. I mean, it was over. These are the kinds of calls that were coming into our office. So I say this to you all because I don't want you to feel like it's not working. I feel like it's pushing. The last time the budget came up was about a week and a half ago. They put it up, they were gonna put it up for a vote, ask Larissa. They put it down. They didn't have the votes, it was Wednesday. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I remember looking at Debbie Tingle saying, oh my God, they don't have the votes for the big cut, the $880 billion. So we come in at 10 o'clock, I'm thinking they're not gonna put it up. I don't know what happened on that Wednesday. Somebody got called into the principal's office, I guess, because by Thursday it came up. But do you know how much it passed by? 214, 216. 2 vote difference. When it was in the Senate, Josh Hawley, he's a Missouri senator. I don't agree. Yeah, I know, but he introduced an amendment to put hands off. I just say to people that he did it for Medicaid. Basically, it was like a hands-off, do not touch Medicaid. It almost passed. I think it was like 1 or 2 vote difference in the Senate. So we're almost there in creating the wall that's needed, because right now a lot of them are just sheep, just following. And we gotta get them away from following the herd in the way that they are. Because again, many of my colleagues, all of them, Protect Our Care is out there showing people in communities, again, of folks that are are being impacted by the cut for Medicaid, or will be impacted by the cut for Medicaid. I have a Republican colleague from California, 62% of his residents rely on Medicaid. That's a lot more than me, 62%. So he's getting slammed and so forth. So we gotta continue to organize our backyard. The one thing I continue to say, and I know Larissa doesn't want to get too much into politics, but the one thing we can do is organize our backyard. And we can deliver at least one. And there's one very close to our district, and we can try to encourage the residents there to organize and rise up and try to get their member of Congress to support, protecting many of these programs. A lot of them, if they want to cut Department of Education, they go sponsor the bill that somebody introduced to get rid of the Department of Education. They know their constituents do not support it. They know their constituents do not support the Medicaid cuts and all of these cuts. Veterans are coming to these town halls. I can't believe they have to beg their country to keep a promise to take care of them, but that's what they're going to do, and they're fighting. So again, it's really important that we continue this and work together. With that, I'm gonna yield to our amazing cousin. One of the things that I think is important is I really want folks, because I know our county commissioner, our councilwoman, is getting calls of what does it mean at the local level. Even in my resistance training, Livonia had a Southfield resident ask me, is anything going to happen to the library funding? So it's really important, again, for all of us to stay connected and working together. So I really appreciate that. And then I give it to Commissioner. Thank you. Thank you, the county commissioner.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And thank you for having this town hall this evening. Thank you to all of you for coming out. I am your County Commissioner for District 18. I represent not only this wonderful city of Southfield, but I also represent Southfield Township, the villages of Franklin, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, portions of Bloomfield Charter Township. On the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, I'm still very active, as you all know. I sit on all 4 standing committees. I'm the vice chair of the Finance Committee, a member of our Legislative Committee. I'm also a member of our EDI, Economic and Development, and I'm also a member of our Human and Health Safety and Human Health and Public Safety Committee. And I lived here in Southfield for more than 30 years, so I'm grounded here. I live here, I raise my children here, I go to church here, I worship here. Southfield is my home. And at the county level, I represent not only Southfield, but the other 5 districts as well. Some of the things that I'm most proud of the year and a half that I've been there, in April of this year, the Board of Commissioners authorized the issuance of Evergreen Farmington Sanitary Drain district of bonds up to $14 million to finance the cost of our Phase 2 project. And if you're not familiar with the drain, whenever it rains, the rain has to run off and it goes into the drain. If that flow is not clear, it backs back up into our basements, back up on our streets. This money that we have, the county has put toward this drain for our area, the Evergreen Farmington sanitary drain, will help eliminate or alleviate that problem. We had a problem a few years ago, and we had to help our residents through a very bad transition. The next thing is the transit grants. In September of 2024, the Board of Commissioners authorized $2 million from the county's public transportation millage fund for the purpose of establishing the 2024 access to the transit program. 8 projects were selected to receive grant funds, including one for the city of Southfield. The city of Southfield also received $100,000 for preliminary engineering to design the pedestrian bridge and improvement access to the adjacent transit stop on 9 Mile at M10 and M39. This will complete a segment of the 9 Mile corridor urban trail. We've also, in November of 2023, the Board of Commissioners approved a partnership between Oakland County Parks and the city of Southfield for the former Beachwoods Golf Course into the 39-acre Southfield Oaks Beachwood Park. The new Southfield Oaks Park is adjacent to Beachwoods, so they're right there together. In total, more than $7 million in investments were planned to be made at the new Southfield Oaks and Beachwoods Park, including updates to walking trails and the park's infrastructure. In February of 2025, the Board of Commissioners approved an amendment to the Beachwoods Park Plan with updated property boundaries between it and Southfield Oaks. We also have the Brownfield Consortium, where in January of 2025, the Board of Commissioners authorized the acceptance of $1.5 billion in the U.S. EPA grant to Oakland County Brownfield Consortium. The city of Southfield was allocated $60,000 to be used to assess their brownfield sites. Also, an estimated 172,000 Oakland County residents owe about $6 billion in student loans. To help remove financial obstacles, Oakland County joined with Savvy, a third-party company, committed to solving the student debt crisis. By paying Savvy $70 per person, Oakland County can provide residents and the county employees free access to its services for a year. So far, more than 830 people have been helped with more than $25.1 million in student debt loans have been signed up by Savvy. They have reduced their student loan debt by more than $42,000 on an average, which is putting about $144 back into their homes and into their budgets. Oakland County invested $2 million in undue medical debt and identified 80,000 residents with unpaid medical bills whose debts can be forgiven. The national nonprofit buys debt from local health systems for pennies on the dollar, effectively erasing the debt for that resident. The undue medical debt sends letters to the residents whose debts have been forgiven. The first round of notifications was wiping out $9.1 million in debt, went out to over 14,000 Oakland County residents. And that happened in December. Using the Oakland County Together Housing Trust Fund and Oakland County Land Bank, Oakland County worked with developers to build 9 housing projects in which there will be 649 affordable housing units for older adults, low and middle income families, and those in opioid recovery, and those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. the Oakland Saves Grant Program has also helped more than 1,000 households make money-saving, energy-efficient upgrades, including new furnaces and windows last year. I'm also a member of the Human Trafficking Force, and as you know, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office and our Prosecutor's Office, along with the local cities such as Southfield, Royal Oak, Farmington, Madison Heights, and there's a few others. But and the Board of Commissioners partnered to create the Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force, where I'm the vice chair. The mission is to encourage cooperation between law enforcement and agencies to apprehend and convict those involved in human trafficking in our county to help them to identify the actual people that are causing the crimes, not the people that we arrest that's doing different things, but the ones that's actually putting them out there. And we do that by having training, we have wraparound services for the individuals so that they can know that we care about you, the individual, and that we're not looking to hurt you, but to help you. This mission is to encourage cooperations between our law enforcement agencies and to apprehend and convince those involved in human trafficking in our county. Southfield and Madison Heights were the first agencies to join the task force with the Sheriff's Office. I am the majority vice chair on the task force, as I mentioned. In 2023, the Economic Development Business Forward Program evolved into a nonprofit. We have the Oakland Thrive, which supports our Oakland County entrepreneurs and small businesses. And I also want to give a shout out to our Southfield Chamber because Oakland Thrive works very closely with them in bringing our small business in helping them to thrive. Since then, Oakland Thrive has connected with more than 15,000 small businesses and has formed 75 partnerships with business owners and experts to consult with small business owners. Project Diamond, Distributed Independent Agile Manufacturing on Demand, is what that stands for, the acronym, was created to help local businesses use 3D printers to make personal protection equipment during the pandemic. So far, Project Diamond has distributed more than 300 3D printers and trained 148 small businesses in 3D printing so they can join the growing network of manufacturing and technology industries. Due to its success and Governor Gretchen Whitmer's endorsement, Project Diamond will expand statewide and already has a wait list of 126 companies across Michigan. Over the last 2 years, Oakland County with Leadership Oakland awarded nearly 100 mini grants to young entrepreneurs, scholars, and humanitarians with plans to make positive changes in their communities. Oakland 80, with the goal to help 80% of residents earn a post-secondary degree or credential by 2030, Oakland 80 is on track to reach 70% by the end of this year. This year, Oakland 80 embedded 12 navigators in high schools across the county. Navigators collaborate with high school administrators to help students prepare for careers that are not only in demand, but exciting to them. Transit, since voters approved the transit millage in 2022, Oakland County has expanded smart bus routes and on-demand services. Ridership has grown 60% in Western Oakland County, and 402 new transit drivers have been hired. The Veteran Ride Program has grown as well, providing more than 7,200 rides in less than a year for veterans and their caregivers. And then our Parks and Rec. Oakland County voters passed Parks' 20-year investment millage last year to preserve land for future generations and revitalize existing trails and recreational features. You'll see a lot more through the Parks and Rec this year. We have so many programs coming forth, and what we've done is taken away the fees for parking and different things. So a lot of more things will be coming to parks, and a lot of those will be free for the Oakland County residents. And I could go on and on, but so, thank you so much for your time and attention and for having me here.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Coretta Holt, and I am a city council person for the city of Southfield. Thank you, Congresswoman, and thank you, former colleague and commissioner, and thank you to all of you for coming. I won't be before you very long, but I'll just say this. As we all know, this is a good segue how it leads into me. You know, it starts funding at the top at the federal level, goes to the state, then we may have to go through the community, and then it finally hits us. And then we gotta work with what little bit we get. And so I'm gonna talk about all those great things, that's good. But I just kinda wanna expand upon what the Trump administration is doing to us here locally, okay? And so the biggest thing is we don't know what's gonna happen. It's very difficult to be afraid of the unknown. Life is already difficult as it is, but imagine when you just don't know what you don't know until it happens. That's what it's like dealing with the Trump administration. So a lot of the things that we're dealing with here at the city, you know, we have to plan in the future, 5 years out, 3 years out, and all of that. So where money was already allocated to us, he's talking about taking it back. So we already know how bad our roads are. He may take that back. A lot of our programs we're trying, and we're not a for-profit company. We get our money from taxpayers, and then whatever grants we can get from the federal government, then what little piece the state may give us, and the county. And again, they have to share it amongst everybody in the state. When it finally gets to us, then we have to do everything that you need. Your roads, we have to pay for fire, police. Don't talk about recreation. You want that pool and things of that. So dealing with the Trump administration is very difficult because as we work with funds that have already been earmarked to us from the previous administration, we're scared that he may take it back from us. For instance, we have grants under the carbon reduction program. Just that name alone, he'll snatch it. Don't know what it's about, he'll snatch it. And that works for our streets, our traffic lights, and we have plans already 3 and 5 years out to fix the road. Doesn't look like it, but we are working on it. But, and all of that. And then some of our programs that we get through community block grants that helps Haven. We all know about Haven. That's at jeopardy for the funding that we give to Haven. Our senior chore program, Southfield Youth Assistance, their housing, the improvement, all of that. The money has to come from somewhere, and he's gonna take it, okay? He's thinking about it. Our career center, a wonderful career center, 1.8 million a year. He's gonna snatch that possibly. We're preparing for certain cuts under FEMA. The Congresswoman talked about education, all of that. So imagine what we have to deal with the unknown. Earmarked funds already, but he's just talking about coming in and taking it. Just last week, the House passed Resolution 19. It's immigration orders. Not sure if you guys heard that. We have to certify before the state will give us some money under what is called the enhancement grant. We got to make sure we're not going to mess with his immigration plans. Can you believe that? We have to signify, sign, certify, and then they've asked us for all of our policies on immigration just here in the city of Southfield. Didn't even know we had a policy, but I'll be looking into it. But then we have to make sure that it says we won't do anything to go against his immigration policies.
Fascism.
Unbelievable. We all heard about those tariffs. Well, let me tell you how that's going to affect us. We have a lot of tech companies, small businesses that we rely on to keep a business base here in the city of Southfield. Well, we're going to lose them possibly if he does anything with those tariffs. Additionally, we get a lot of our supplies overseas, Canada, we get a lot from there. Now, you thought the COVID stopped, this is gonna be worse. So he's not thinking about the domino effect that he's doing. We get equipment that we get sent in, so we are already dealing with delays of people being able to produce for us. When we order police cars, we're ordering like 2 years out before we actually get them because of supply and demand. All of that is a problem. You add the tariffs on top of it, that's something. The Congresswoman talked about Medicaid, Social Security, so I won't go into that to repeat it. But I'll tell you this, if he doesn't watch his son, we're gonna be in a recession, everybody. And I'm gonna close with one thing that I saw that he did, because this hit me to my heart. When he got into administration, he wanted to remove everything in the archives regarding Harriet Tubman. Why is a president dealing with that? Exactly. But what that tells us is we got to be careful and think about who we put into office, everybody. Don't take it lightly. Because I did my part, but my candidate didn't make it in. And it's not about color, gender. It's about hiring somebody who cares about us, America, and has a heart to do what is right, and not because of what lines we are in the aisle, but you just want to do right. And so I'll close with that and get off my soapbox. I'm Coretta Holt, your
Thank you both so much. So we got some questions. If you still have any, please, I know my staff still have cards. This one's my favorite, but we're not going to answer because it's too, well, maybe a little bit. I love this one. How can we get rid of these turkeys? I thought that was hilarious. Thank you, Mr. Collins. But yeah, we could talk about, and some of this will go to the other thing, the House Oversight Committee subpoenaing people, resisting through litigation, and yes, impeachment. And so all of that to say is that you're going to see a lot of folks as we're coming back this coming week, that you're going to see a lot more resistance, including, there's going to be a big push. I'm one of the people pushing to have what they call a discharge petition on the floor. This is a way around the majority to get 218 members of Congress to sign on to something to go around the process and force a vote. You saw that a little bit with, proxy voting for some of the members of Congress and mothers and so forth, but that's a way, again, that we can fight back. One of the questions went to, what are we doing to restore the protections of the Civil Rights Act? I'm really incredibly happy with this question because this is somebody that realizes the Civil Rights Act did get watered down through the courts aggressively. The courts got more conservative. In the original intent of the Civil Rights Act is that you don't only have to show intentional discrimination, but disparate impact. They got rid of that. So for instance, a lot of folks want to do a class action suit against the auto insurance companies, right? The disparate impact of how they apply. So how many of you, when you call the auto insurance company, they ask you your marital status, non-driving record. They ask your education level, your zip code. Do you remember the days they used to just ask, well, how far do you drive? What kind of car do you drive? The older we got, the insurance went down. It was one of the benefits of getting older. That's all out the door. So Justice for All Civil Rights Act would literally reverse decades. And this is one of the first ever bills that I ever introduced when I first got elected. And it's many of the folks in academics, professors have contacted me. Restoring the Civil Rights Act is critical. This is why we couldn't go after emergency managers, because we could only show disparate impact, the impact of emergency managers. There are so many folks that don't have access to the courts and through the Civil Rights Act because, again, conservative courts overturned a lot of the original version and the intent of the Civil Rights Act. So please check out Justice for All Civil Rights Act, incredibly important bill and initiative. We're going to continue to organize around it. John Lewis and Ted Kennedy in 2008 had a similar bill. This one expands a lot farther because it talks about many of our residents with disabilities and so forth. So please be aware of that. So the other question comes, do you plan to visit those detained that entered Canada? So today I met with the head of ICE for our Detroit area with Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. But on March 21st, I only have to give them 24-hour notice. I did go to the border, the Ambassador Bridge port of entry, because we had found out that some families, some as long as 5 days or so, were being detained in really inhumane conditions, just not conditions for families. She had a 1 and a 5-year-old. Some of it's been publicly reported, but it's real. They changed the policy and how they deal with the fact that many folks make that wrong turn on the Ambassador Bridge. Everybody now, it's been going on for decades. Then even in the tunnel, you know, especially around prom time, oh my God, Commissioner, they make that right turn into the tunnel thinking they're going to the Marriott for their prom. All that to say is that, you know, the head of our field operations there, the head of our CPP, Border Patrol there, he basically said 90% of the people they've been, you know, detaining are people from inside the United States that make that wrong turn. Before they could release them, give them a court date, so forth, here they were detaining them, and again, a statewide organization called the Michigan Immigrant Rights Center was very concerned about it, and so I did do a site visit. There was no families there at the time, thank God, but I found out there was an attempted suicide at the tunnel at that detention site, that one of the children got very, very sick at the port of entry at the Ambassador Bridge. So today we had a frank conversation about you know, that the fact that our port of entry at the Ambassador Bridge just is not built for detention. And so I can tell you now, you know, if you're concerned about this, please do be concerned about this. I'm gonna tell you, their names may be Garcia, Mahmoud Khalil, Rasmiya, but their due process and constitutional rights are our due process and constitutional rights. They're gonna always start there. But when they chip away at their due process, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got US citizens being asked to do the same thing. Or so know that again, when our constitutional rights, which is, you know, no matter your immigration status, you have rights. You have, again, we have these various policies that protect people from any harm, and especially, you know, human rights violations and so forth. So please, don't wait for it to be a name that sounds like yours. I know what they're doing. This is a slippery slope. This is fascism. This is exactly how they start. And so just know the families that were detained, they were mixed status families. It was complete chaos. But again, one of the things I know for sure is that it's important to again make sure that we're following those protections. So those are two questions here about that. What can we do to do as a grassroots citizens to make the most efforts to protest, resist, and changes coming out of the Trump administration? We talked about it. You know, all of us are going to be different in how we do this, right? I'm known as, I want to impeach, and I want to subpoena, and I want to bring it. That's the law background. That's what I want to do as your member of Congress. I want to resist and fight, and I want to not make it easy for them. You know, it should not be easy. They should be like, oh, here comes Rashida, she's about to do something. But what all of you can do is, you know, and again, my mom's different, right? She might come to a protest, but she might be a person that doesn't like making those phone calls. She don't like making those phone calls, but you might be able to be one that likes to make those phone calls. You might be the one that likes to organize and push. So we've done Know Your Rights trainings. We've done different kinds of things to, you know, get citizens to act. I can tell you the way I've seen history when democracies fall, it's when the people are paralyzed and they're fearful and they don't move and they don't resist. Don't let them paralyze us. These are the rights that we have, and we're going to push, and this is our country, not theirs. This is our country. And so it's really important. It's important to know. You know, it's very obvious that this is Project 2025 on Stories Are Going. It's the 13th week. This has been planned since the Reagan administration. Look it up. They called it something else. This has been planned, but this is where we all rise up together. And you know, should be bringing us all together. I love the fact that I don't have to explain Medicaid to nobody in our district. Everybody knows what that is. They know somebody that benefits from it, or them personally. But the fact that they don't care who is, it's a person that needs care. We have sick care in our country, y'all. We don't have health care, we have sick care. Literally, Medicaid is a Band-Aid for greed within our healthcare industry. And so all that to do is they want to rip that, rip even the Band-Aid that we have. Why? Because they want to give their friends that donated to their campaigns a big break. And they're trying to do it in a way that's, they think they're slick. It's going to be very evident to everyone. It's exactly what they're trying to do is, again, switch it and give more power. So it's really important. You guys got a lot of questions. Well, one is, what can we do as a city, a county, and a federal level to repair costly infrastructure repairs for homeowners and renters? I know you talked a little bit about that, County Commissioner. I don't know if you need people.
I know by me being the vice chair of finance, that's one of the things that I'm looking at, where we can work towards grants, which again, we have to be careful because the federal government is cutting the grants. So we're relying on our state representatives, and we work together. We know that if we come together and do things more regionally, like we'll work with some of the other cities and say, we need the whole road, 12 miles from one end to the other, we can get more funding that way. Well, now, not being unsure as to if the federal government is even going to allow us to have it, they give us stuff and then take it back. Like they did with our veterans. In November, they gave them $520,000, and then they take it back, and now they only want to give them 120. But they've made plans for this money, so we don't know which way to go. So we're looking at things that we can do on a county level, something that we can sustain, rather than looking into trying to get grants and stuff. So we're looking at our budget, and again, we're getting ready to go into budget review starting in July 1st. So that's something we're trying to see what we can do as a county on our own and make it sustainable, rather than relying on the federal government.
I would say at the local level, we have a lot of programs already in place with our seniors. The fact of the matter is, ensure that they're gonna stay funded. But it's not only the seniors that need help. Everybody kind of needs help these days. The thing is that resources are becoming less and less and less for us. What can we do to help remedy that? I'm sorry to say, but it's vote and who you put in office that will help us with these program, folks. Cities aren't built to pay for the responsibilities of homeowners and things of that such, but we do have programs where we try to help. But our resources are becoming very much limited. We deal with a lot of mental health issues. People coming in who are homeless. And when you see that, again, you're a caring person, you have to figure out how can we shift our resources? And we're very limited. And so I think it truly all goes back to who you put in office, people who think like you, and who will help bring the resources to us that we need. That's the first thing. And we can take advantage of what we have already in place. And like I said, we do have it for the seniors, but I'm one that recognizes, thank God I'm not a senior just yet, but my age, we need help too sometimes, single parents, women only. And that, unfortunately, we just don't have that yet. However, we are a city that works with our county, our state, our federal level just to see what can we do to help. So we do need people to come to us and let us know. But we are dealing with a lot of social issues that, we need national health care. I work for the healthcare company, been in it for over 30 plus years. And I'll tell you, Medicare is the biggest payer there is. And if he touches that, it's gonna be a close to everything, hospitals and all of that. And everyday people don't really understand how that is, but trust me, it will be a major impact. I have a fellow colleague that's been in the healthcare, and that's why it's so critical that we do the research and we know who we put in office, who make these decisions for us. You give us that ability to make that decision, so you want to make sure you're not hiring, but it's almost like hiring, electing people with common sense, logical sense, and have a heart. that can understand and have empathy and sympathy for where you are. So I just want people to know, we know of the social ills that are plaguing our communities. We just have to find the resources, people.
Yeah, and I know, it's absolutely important. Home repair is one of the second or third requests we get from Oakland County. I know we have a lot of our residents with fixed income, but it's gutter work, it's, something's going on with the basement, a number of things. So we did put in a request with the city of Southfield. We tried to do it with the Habitat for Humanity, but they changed the rules. They said Republicans are in control of the appropriations process, and 2 weeks, wasn't it 2 weeks before the deadline, we couldn't do it under the nonprofit, so we needed it has to be a municipality, it could be a school district, a county, and so forth. But we submitted about $4 million for home repair program for Southfield specifically. And so I know that they took it out, and you saw the budget, they passed the one until September, but we still are gonna resubmit it. It's due, I think, next month. We're gonna try again to continue to push. We won't get probably the 4 million. I requested 4 million for another program, they'll come back and be 500,000. So I just want folks to measure their expectation. However, community-funded project is a way to fill in and give a little bit more capacity for some of our cities and others, because the CDBG formula is not working, y'all. The way they do these programs is not working. And we've been talking about it in Financial Services Committee and other forums of how do we address the fact that we do have an aging housing stock and that we do have folks that just can't afford. The cost of repair has skyrocketed. I remember in 2008-9, it was about $7,000 to fix your roof. It's way past north of $20,000 something, as you all know. So again, it's really important. Yes, please.
I'd like to follow up with that because I think we need to thank our Congresswoman because she brings us money back, folks. Wow. And in Southfield, so I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you. Because in Southfield, our housing, just the municipal complex here is aging. Everything in America is aging, our structure and all of that. So we recognize that. I'm looking at some residents that have concerns with our septic tanks. We get it all, and we've got to figure out a way, and we can't fight each other, but work together and figure out a way, and it's all important. We just have to figure out what do we do, because everything is getting old and everything costs, and we've got to figure that out. And I just want you all to know that we're all committed, but this Congresswoman here, she brings us back money, and so I have to tell her thank you.
I have to say thank you as well, but I also wanted to mention that in Oakland County, we have a whole department, neighborhood and housing development, that we're committed to working with residents. You call, we have a whole staff of people that's there. We can't guarantee that we're gonna give you everything for free, but we can work with you to help you on your home repairs, heating, energy, things that are important for everyday living, no matter what age, seniors or not. That department is there to help, and that's what they do, and they're dedicated. And we also have one in the city of Southfield. So just so you know, they are there for you.
So next question is, what do you think of Doja's success in cutting government waste and fraud? An objective, Congress, so I want to be honest with you. It's New York Times. Doge layoffs cost $135 billion to taxpayers. It's New York Times today. Even more importantly, if you want to talk about waste and efficiency, do you know which budget hasn't passed 7 audits in a row? Anybody can guess? The Pentagon budget. The Pentagon budget skyrockets, continues to have, it's historic numbers. By the way, I'm gonna call it out, it's bipartisan. Bipartisan. We've got Democrats, Republicans voting for a budget that you wanna talk about waste and inefficiency, it's in the Pentagon budget. And I still got veterans unhoused. They try to make it out about that, it's not. It's defense contractors. It's the private entities that benefit the most. The more bombs we create, the more war we support. My colleagues own stock. I I have, Stop War Profiteering Act, because I don't think any member of Congress should own any war manufacturing stock while they're voting for the defense budget. They're benefiting financially, personally from it. It is shameful. I just can't believe, you get to go and press the button and say, yeah, we're gonna go send more money. No, really, and increase the so-called, they call it defense budget. If you look in there, I remember back in the day, John Dingell was talking about the cost of toilet seats from one of the contractors. It's worse now. It's widgets, it's everything, y'all. It's worse. 7 audits in a row they haven't passed. And still, I can't get clean drinking water in some of my communities. I can't get home repair for my residents who did everything they're supposed to do, and now they're seasoned and they can't afford it. I can't get, quality health care, and pushing back and saying we got to expand or lower the age for folks to qualify for health coverage, because we're spending it always in the defense contractor regime. It's unbelievable, and it's something that, again, a lot of us need to call out. It actually brings our country together. I can't believe how incredibly bipartisan this effort is about, they have to pass. Barbara Lee introduces the bill, somebody's gonna do it again this year. Pentagon budget has to pass an audit or they ain't getting any more funding, period. So I think it's really important. The other question, oh, this was interesting. Somebody wants me to get on Blue Sky. I hear you. I got you. Yeah, I know. I'm going to read it, but it's a different alternative. I got you. I hear you. Thank you for that. So this one is important. I got this one actually before too. But how is the library funding being impacted by federal directives? Are we receiving requests to ban books? So I don't know. So for us, you probably saw some of the impact on museums and some of the arts and so forth in those proposed cuts. Now, libraries, and I was a state representative for 6 years. I was a minority vice chair of appropriations. I understand that I think it might be traffic ticket, I can't remember. My memory's not great, but there are certain fines from traffic or something from paying tickets does come flowing in for our libraries. But again, I think whoever asked this question, I have your email. Let me get some clarification on it and we'll get back to you. But I think that's a really important question. We want to make sure. I think some of our libraries draw down some competitive grants through the Department of Education, right? So we got to pay attention to that. But I do know they do have some flow of money that comes in from, I want to say traffic violations, but I know, I got to double check, but I remember they had a flow because I was trying to change something for illegal dumping, and they said, oh no, you got to make sure that money still flows to the libraries across our communities. Do you guys know anything about those then? Okay, we'll double check and get that back to you.
We still have a millage for that.
Oh, you have a millage. It sounds like you have a millage in Southfield. Again, whoever asked, it might be the same person that asked me before. Oh, this is important. What can we do to stop the proposed elimination of federal funding for mental health, substance abuse, and many support programs for our disabled residents? What can we do to stop the proposed elimination of federal funding for most of our mental health, substance abuse, and many other support programs for our disabled residents and neighbors? So this is what we're doing. We're going to fight it in the courts. However, federally qualified health centers, all those folks that provide these services, we have been connecting them if they haven't gotten some of their money. So for instance, let me tell you one program. It was primarily for domestic violence survivors. They were on a 3-year federal grant. 2025 is their 3rd year, and they didn't get their 3rd year grant yet, the rest of their funding. So we had connected them to our state AG's office, as well as a group called Democracy Forward, because they have legal standing to fight against what the administration calls a freeze, but it's a cut. They basically are cutting the program. If they don't hear from June or July, you're going to see a lot of folks, not be able to have the transition housing that's been there. But again, much of what is happening in the appropriations for these programs, they've already been appropriated by Congress. Ironically, Republicans were in control of the last appropriations process. This is budget they passed. They passed this budget, and he's going around Congress illegally in a very lawless and very reckless and cruel way to make those cuts. So we got to continue to show people. I can't remember how many times some of our residents like, can he do that? I said, no, he can't. Way we're gonna stop it again is litigation, resisting, and so forth. You're gonna hear more and more judges talking about holding folks in contempt soon. What are we doing to specifically protect Social Security? This is really important. When I tell you they're cutting staff, don't wait for the check to be lower. What they're doing right now is trying to deteriorate Social Security now. When they cut the staff, they're gonna make it look like, oh look, they're incompetent. They do it at the Postal Service all the time. They don't staff up the Postal Service workers. They have huge vacancies. This is one of the biggest fights we had my first to second term. They do that and they make it look like, oh look, they're in the red, they can't keep up. Why? They make them prepay their health insurance. That's the only, Postal Service folks were the only ones that have been required to do that. Why? Because they want to make it look like they're inefficient. Look at them, they can't keep their books right, and they're in the red. The same thing with Social Security Administration. They always try to deteriorate. By the way, this is your money. This is your money. Like, you know, don't be like, they're not allowed to do this. It's your money. And so the Social Security Administration, though, cuts the federal workers, and one of the federal workers told me, you know, sometimes, Rashida, they just don't care, but we're the ones who process those claims. We're the ones who have to answer those calls. We're the ones that got to make sure that everything's right. That when they deteriorate that, they are indirectly cutting Social Security benefits for our residents. So don't wait until that check gets over, you start seeing them moving towards it. This is the time to speak up about it. So thank you for the question, but again, we have a number of bills that we have in process and we're gonna use as organizing tools, but I love when my colleagues, they're all defensive. We're not cutting Social Security. I said, but you just cut the staff, so now your folks don't have anybody to call. So push back against this narrative that they didn't do it. They're doing it to Medicaid right now. We're not cutting Medicaid. Yes, you are. This is the proposal that you have. So continue to speak that truth consistently. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the other thing that each one of you have is your voice. You can contact any member, no matter what, Democrat or Republican, and let them know how you feel. They always ask us our zip code, but we have the power. We can still speak up. We have forums like this. We need to make our voices heard. Standing together, unity. We speak louder together than we do standing alone. But we have to start somewhere, and if we don't try, we're not going to get anywhere. We have to let them know that we're not happy with what they're not doing, and we're not happy with some of the things that they are doing. And as my counterperson over here, our City Councilwoman Hogue, I want to say Coretta, because she reminds me so much. The people that you vote for, locally makes a difference. We start at home. We make differences with the things that with our ordinances, how the city itself is ran. Little things start right at home. That's how we start making our differences. Pay attention to the judges when they run. Who do we vote in? They make decisions over what and how we live. And when we stand before them, are they going to understand who I am and what I'm going through? The things that I'm explaining, is it going to matter to them? You have a lot of power in your voice and in your vote. Make sure you use them wisely. Do your research. Attend meetings.
Yeah, today I met with a number of our neighbors living with disabilities, and many of them are sharing their story with me, and they said, what if we send you videos? I said, don't send me the videos. They're actually, literally, I said, post it on social media and tag John James. And one of them is in the 4th Congressional. I said, tag your member of Congress who literally is leading some of the cuts. Do that. You can shame them. You can get out there and show them over and over, because a lot of the residents in their communities don't even know that's what they're doing. Some of them are not being reached out. Now, Protect Our Care is doing a really great job. They're running $10 million worth of ads, educational ads, letting folks know this is what's happening on the federal level and where people can have. Now, last thing, I know they asked for a zip code, because, you know, I have people call me from Texas and Florida and stuff, and I'm Commissioner, I can't answer those calls. So, but I can tell you that don't assume our senators or other members with the D next to their name is voting the right way. How many of you are familiar with the SAVE Act? This is SAVE Act, voter suppression. It's pretty much a poll tax. I don't care if you see this, you're talking about over 60 million Americans whose birth certificate don't match their IDs anymore because they're married and so forth. But I can tell you, it didn't pass with just Republicans. 4 Democrats supported that voter suppression bill. And so, none of them in our district, Joe, I would have called you. So I can tell you that this is important because I don't want you to assume, because I'm afraid that some of these billionaire tax breaks, that you're gonna start seeing Democrats with, because one of the biggest things that I've noticed when it comes to supporting the billionaire class and the corporate, PACs and all this stuff that comes into my colleagues, they're giving them to Democrats as much as they're giving them to Republicans. So make sure, I don't take corporate PAC money, but some of my colleagues do. I've been there almost 7 years, and sometimes I look up and I'm like, why is he? Oh, he gets money from Big Pharma. You see what I'm saying? So just be conscientious that, no, it's important, because some of those Trump tax breaks, some of our Democratic senators, not currently, but they did vote for it in the past. I remember advocating to make sure that we stopped it. So just make sure that we're always due diligent, holding our members accountable and so forth. And know that 200 of our residents got packets from me. I bought the stamps and everything to send neighbor to neighbor cards. Because I think, somebody from a neighboring county saying, hey, this is important to me, even around substance abuse programs, Department of Education, whatever it is, it's going to be effective to move people when they get those cards. So we're gonna do everything we can and resist and push, but let's not assume that folks in Macomb County and folks in other counties, neighboring counties, know what their member of Congress is doing, and we can do a lot of that education, organizing our backyard. I think with that, I'm gonna hand it back over to Tony. Please give our County Commissioner and Councilwoman a round of applause.
So with that being said, this is the end of our program. We wanted to do a couple of reminders for you all. Just reminding you, in the corner over this way, we have age waves in Oakland Forward for those who want to actually sign up and be active in the community a little bit more. We also have refreshments that we would like you to take out. And then also in this right corner, again, we are asking that you cast your vote for our district art competition. The winner art piece will be hanging in the Capitol for a year. So if you don't mind, go to this corner there and cast your votes. And again, thank you all so much. Also, the representative will be here to answer questions. We're asking that the line, and one more time, we're asking that the line it starts here, right where our Chief of Staff, Marissa Richardson, is standing. And then we're going to ask you to exit out this way. Give us one moment so that we can set up to do so. Again, thank you so much for attending.